kind of work. It may look dangerous, but the workers are protected by a solid ring of scaffolding around the building. In April 2004, construction of the building shells is progressing well. Only Section H, the Culture Centre, is still at ground level. Here in Section B, preparations are being made to pour the cell floors. The carefully laid insulation layer underneath will further help suppress noise. Given that there are over 20,000 square meters of floor to be poured, a method has been chosen that saves time and also produces perfectly smooth floors, ready for a final layer of linoleum. A very fluid mixture of plaster, sand and water is pumped into each cell from outside the building. This allows around 120 square meters of floor to be poured per hour. The East Jutland prison will be a very flexible prison. Some of the cell sections can be adjusted to house either 6 or 12 inmates in the same unit. This is based on the desire for inmates to be able to get along on a daily basis. Some wings have an open environment between the cell rows, allowing interaction with inmates opposite, whilst others have a fixed wall and a lockable door, which can be opened if the entire wing gets along. This is Section E, the high security section, which will house problem inmates, people who seek to influence other inmates to have a particular attitude. This section is completely isolated from the rest of the prison. Workers on the first floor are concreting the section of the building that will serve as the sick bay for East Jutland Prison. In the Italian town of Pietrasanta, Danish artist Kirsten Ortved is putting the finishing touches on her sculpture for the new prison. She, along with 4 other Danish artists, was selected by the Danish Arts Foundation, which is financially supporting the project. The rest of the funding derives from statutory requirements governing decoration of public buildings. In her studio, she's working on a working model for a bronze sculpture called Platform.
Så gik der ikke så lang tid før jeg fandt ud af.
It didn't take long for me to work out that it would be the area itself I worked with, as a kind of period picture. The area sculpture was intended as a model, or symbol of the model society they want to create inside the prison. Kind of a model of society outside. The sculpture is all about time. And it's a serious thing, because it's about what the inmates are going into. But it's also about what they will one day leave behind, where they've been. And this has had a big influence on the way I've made the sculpture.
Back at Enna-Mark, Workshop Wing C is being prepared for roof construction. On the other side of the building, workers are ready to install the bridge connecting the cell wing to the workshops and the seminar rooms and recreation rooms on the first floor. The link between the 2 buildings is being made for security reasons. This direct access avoids the need to escort inmates through an open space. Similar bridges will be installed for the other 3 medium security sections. Inmates at Møgelkær Prison are producing furniture for the Prison and Probation Service. They've just started a large furniture production project to provide furniture for cells in the prison at Enna.
This arrangement supplies us with the furniture we want, while also providing a basis for meaningful work for the inmates. One of the important things about serving prison time is that inmates are given meaningful work to do, so that we can also get them used to a way of life that corresponds to the life of a normal citizen. So we haven't bought a lot of furniture. We've actually produced it all ourselves from scratch.
In June, the first cell bars arrive at the almost bar-free prison. These bars are to be installed on the balconies at the end of each cell wing in the medium security sections. The balconies provide a supplement to the daily yard times, so inmates can get some extra fresh air. The bars enclosing the balconies are extremely solid and escape-proof. They're made from a special type of steel with a very high security rating. Using various hardening processes, the material becomes so hard and strong that any attempt to cut it will quickly be seen as futile.
Well, there are some special security factors in what we're doing here. Otherwise, it's fairly straightforward, but very interesting to watch the project progressing. I don't have much experience with prisons, but I heard there were some French visitors who thought we were building holiday units. So it's pretty luxurious. Well, of course they should have reasonable conditions, but not this luxurious. I think it's too luxurious. Yeah, it's a great complex, but I don't go around thinking the walls should be grey because it's a prison. There's no reason it shouldn't look good. I think it'll make things easier when people come in here and it gets put to use. If the inmates are happier, they'll be easier to handle.
After installing and testing several cell windows, the approved version of the barless window system arrives from a Polish supplier.
Barred windows have been replaced by some very secure windows, where the security lies in the type of glass and the window design. In addition, there are alarms that will go off if anyone still tries to break out through a window. And finally, there is the particularly secure perimeter, which will prevent anyone from completely escaping, even if they manage to partially escape.
Over the next 6 months, 228 cell windows will be installed at Ennemark. Summer 2005, and an unemployed court clerk gets the idea of helping the hungry workers, sparing them from squashed packed lunches.
Didn't take long to put the idea into action because I started calling around. I had plenty of time to do it since I was at home anyway. It wasn't long before the store was at the site and I was in it. Some of the men have wives who get up early before they leave and pack them a lunch. But some of them forget them occasionally. And then after they've come and bought something here, they say, "That was convenient." I think it's wonderful here. People are just so friendly. And they're a bit rough occasionally and they tease a lot, but in a good-natured way, so I think it's okay. It's very different to when I worked in the court office.
The architects, together with the Prison and Probation Service, have decided the colours in the prison shouldn't be too bleak, but should be soothing. First, a structural base is applied. The basic colour is a warm off-white, and the painters, seen here in a cell wing, will later introduce effect colours to liven it up. The various colours will also help distinguish the various sections from each other. The painter team has to cover over 80,000 square metres of prison walls. The new village behind the big wall in the middle of Ennemark is taking shape. All buildings or foundations have now risen above the landscape, and over the next 6 months, all sections will have finished brick facades and completed roofs. Two years have passed since the test cell was constructed at Nurse near the prison and received feedback. In 2005, a new test cell is being furnished, this time in the real setting. Much of the furniture has been changed and improved in the meantime, and it's all being installed at Ennemark today for final evaluation. A cell is just under 12 square meters in size, so the way it's furnished will have a big impact on inmates. They cannot simply shift the furniture around as they like, as almost everything is securely bolted to the cell walls, so nothing can be hidden behind it. There are just a few things that can be moved. For example, the small refrigerator in each cell is mobile. This is to make things easier for personnel who will regularly perform inspections in the cells. These are carried out primarily to find any hidden items concealed by inmates. In June, some of the last concrete elements are positioned in Section H, the Culture Centre, containing a sports hall, shop, library, meeting room and church. A unique module is being installed in what will become the chapel. The module is an integrated part of Øyvind Nygaard's altarpiece decoration. It's called Hole in the Wall and will later be fitted with a sandblasted glass mosaic featuring quotes from the New Testament. This means the prison congregation will be meeting in a church room that doesn't look like a traditional church, as is the case in Horsens prison.
I wouldn't say I was sad, because a church is made of living stones. As soon as the congregation has moved from this location and the church is empty, it's really a dead church, so that's why I'm not sad about it. I'll put this behind me and then it's time to look ahead. The church is only a church while the congregation is here.
On the 13th of June, it's time to fly the flag at the traditional topping out ceremony. Guests arriving for the festivities at Ennemark are also greeted by traditional music. The celebration's hosted by the owners, in this case the government, for all the construction personnel, with food and drink and the usual series of speeches.
Horsens is now not only in the Super League when it comes to football, but also when it comes to having a modern prison complex.
As well as the many tradesmen, the Prison and Probation Service has invited over 200 guests to the ceremony, held in the workshop area of Section B. In the future, these rooms will house a metalwork and machine workshop. This will also be where inmates carry out building maintenance in the area of metalwork. From festivities and colour, back to the grey concrete which forms 2 exercise yards in the high security Section E. These yards will be the areas in which inmates will get a daily dose of fresh air, and security has been a high priority.
This is very different to the way we have set up exercise yards for the rest of the prison. But of course we need to be especially careful with inmates who are particularly dangerous or have a high risk of escape.
The extremely solid concrete walls are not the only thing securing the prison. Throughout the summer, many of the cables are being laid which will transmit surveillance signals from the entire area to a central guardhouse in Section F. Cables are also being laid for the surveillance cameras along the perimeter wall. As building shells are gradually being completed, a security company runs cables for a variety of purposes. In this cell wing in Section D, electricians are running cables for communication and emergency calls from inmate cells to a guardhouse. Outside the perimeter wall, a 1.5 kilometre wire fence is being erected to prevent outsiders from trying to get close, and the swans had better not settle between the fence and the wall, as electronic alarms are installed here. By late summer 2005, construction of the outer fence is complete, and a major internal security fence is being erected. The fence will be over 5 meters high and almost 1.4 kilometers long. Over 700 posts are to be used, mounted on concrete bases. Workers also have to handle over 60,000 nuts and bolts to build the 7,000 square meter fence designed to prevent escape attempts. Kitchen facilities are being installed in each cell wing, and inmates will have their own locked cupboard. The inmates in East Jutland Prison will have a budget and be responsible for their own daily food preparation.
Inmates were unable to prepare their own food in the old Horsens prison, but this is not a new initiative within the Prison and Probation Service. For a number of years we've been introducing self-care in terms of food preparation in all our prisons. And it's been a success story. It means inmates are active for much of the leisure time where they otherwise would not have anything meaningful to do. It also gives them the opportunity to learn to prepare food. The only problem is that it is hugely expensive to set up kitchens and laundries, especially in so many small wings, as we have in the new prison. But yeah, I'm sure it's worth it.
It's an early but mild October morning in 2005. The tall poles for mounting the surveillance cameras are ready for the workers to install.
It's a big part of the security contract here. Lots of cameras have to be installed in all kinds of locations. Most visible will be the ones around the perimeter wall. There'll be poles set up for cameras, both inside and outside the wall. And there'll also be cameras set up inside buildings and places like that.
These cameras will monitor the area 24 hours a day. This means that solid and reliable cables have to be run to the various poles and cameras to be installed all over the prison. The G4S security company has calculated that over 100 kilometers of cables have to be laid to service the communication, surveillance and alarm systems at East Jutland Prison. The exercise yards in the medium security sections are enclosed with wire netting fences, but extra security is required in the high security section E for dangerous inmates. These yards are therefore being fitted with a roof made of very secure grates. They're made of the same type of steel as used in the balconies in the medium security sections. To further protect the prison against break-ins, a row of posts are being built in front of the main gate and administration. The barrier is made up of solid concrete posts running deep into the soil. To avoid leaving a gap, hydraulic posts are being constructed that can be raised and lowered. They're built into concrete frames below the ground in front of the two gates, which provide the only vehicle access to the prison. It's January 2006, and winter has again come to the developing village at Ennermark. In Section C, technicians are preparing to install some of the equipment to be used in furniture production. One of the 4 workshops in the joinery is being fitted with painting rooms and a large fully automatic drying room. Inmates will not be left to produce furniture unaided. They'll be working under the supervision of trained foremen to ensure uniform and high-quality furniture is produced at all times. The joinery workshops will provide work for between 25 and 30 inmates.
I'm looking forward to coming out to the new complex. There's a big difference between the new and the old cells. Here we have 6 square meters and no water in the drums. And there's a shortage of refrigerators. In the new prison, there are refrigerators and showers and toilets in the drums, cells. That'll be nice.
The high security section E is one of the last buildings to be completed. Due to the nature of the inmates, there's extra security everywhere. For example, the guard room is designed and positioned so that personnel have a direct view of the 4 wings surrounding the office. This helps provide a constant overview of what's happening in the corridors of each wing. Elsewhere in the building, which also has indoor surveillance cameras, a disciplinary and isolation section is being built to house 7 inmates. This section also has 2 observation cells and a securing cell with a special floor coating, which is epoxy-based with the addition of hard granulate, providing a strong coating and an extremely non-slip surface in case the inmate becomes violent. These special cells are not furnished in the manner of the other prison cells, as they will only be used for short periods. Throughout the winter, tradesmen finish off the interior work in the various sections of the new prison at Ennermark. It's now March, and sculptor Kirsten Ortved has returned to Pietrasanta to supervise completion of her sculpture platform at the Mariani Bronze Foundry. She's worked for many years with the renowned foundry, who are experts in large sculptures. A worker's preparing the mould for one element of the art piece. A thin layer of wax is applied to the mould before a thick layer is poured on. Prior to casting, the wax is melted to leave a hollow chamber. The bronze is heated to 1100 degrees Celsius and poured into the mould. The many individual pieces for platform are welded together. In the end, it will not be possible to see where the elements join. It requires a special technique and extensive experience to produce a perfect surface. Kirsten Ortved monitors the entire process to check whether there are any areas that might need changing. Before the Italian workers can finish platform, the surface is cleaned by blasting it with fine sand. If there are minor faults in the joints, they'll be exposed. The final process after many months of work at Mariani is to patinate the sculpture. Patinating is a difficult task if you have to precisely match the hue and shadow the artist desires, and that is what Kirsten Ortved expects. After several trial patinations, everyone is happy, and the 4-ton platform can be shipped to Ennemark. It's real April weather Denmark, and meanwhile landscape architects are busy with extensive earthworks. The topsoil that was stored in piles after levelling in 2003 is now being spread around the areas surrounding each section. This soil will later be transformed into grassy plains, which interconnect the buildings, giving the prison area a village feel. In May 2006, it's time to move the Sigthut village, where contractors, consultants, tradesmen and architects have been based for 3 years, outside the perimeter wall. This is to make way for work on a football field in this location. Once the many Sigthuts and material containers have been moved outside, the perimeter wall will be closed. The only access will be through the main gate, which will soon be manned on a trial basis.
I generally have high expectations of the new prison. I think that's justified given we're building a completely new and very carefully designed prison. The new physical setting alone should mean we run the prison very differently to how Horsens prison is run today. So I have a clear expectation that conditions for both inmates and personnel will be different.
Too tall